welcome to another video. So today we're going to be having a look at the dress codes in the first episode of the Sweeney, which is your traditional crime drama if you are doing that option for paper 2 section A. We have one shout out before we get started, so big shout out to Chelsea. If you haven't subscribed yet but you'd like to, you can have a look at the end of the video to basically work out how to get a shout out and help me get more subscribers. So let's get started. We're going to start with Regan. So initially when we see him in the first episode of season 1, he's viewed in this sort of paisley robe, which subverts the expectations of somebody who is traditionally masculine or portrayed as traditionally masculine like Regan. Now there's nothing that states that sort of paisley is only for women, and indeed during the period paisley was a particularly prominent print, but it's the way that he's sort of dressed in this robe, the fact that it looks very feminine, it's sort of silky and all that sort of stuff that we would not expect of somebody like Regan. We then see him throughout the episode in sort of formal dress code. So he's in a suit, he's in shirt and tie, but these are often very muted colours which sort of give off this idea that they're very well worn, which in a way sort of suggests that he's unconcerned with his appearance, particularly when you compare him to Haskins. So Haskins is shown through very formal clothing. He's got a dark colour palette to his suits, usually a black, which sort of indicates this level of seriousness that we get in his personality. And it also helps to make his suits look new. Now this suggests that obviously he's concerned with looking the part of a boss as well as sort of acting as a boss. And this is reinforced through his meeting with the commander, where he sort of puts himself forward as wanting to look the part but doesn't necessarily have the ability to do it. Just before we carry on, apologies for some of these images, but obviously because the Sweeney is not as readily available as Luther, it's very difficult to find pictures, so I've had to take them from that first episode. Kemble, very similar in a way to both Regan and Haskins in terms of his dress codes, because he's viewed in very high class attire. So we again see him in a suit with a shirt and tie. Now this suggests a level of wealth, but we know that this wealth is made through criminal activity rather than the sort of honest to goodness wealth that is made from Regan and Haskins. Now like Haskins, Kemble wears these clothes, or by wearing these clothes sort of emphasizes his power and command that he has over the other characters, because there's a visual difference between what he wears and what some of his sort of gang wear. So an example of that would be Brooker. As we can see, Brooker isn't viewed in shirt and tie. He's got this sort of roll neck sweater with a jacket over the top. He's got a flat cap, which all seem very stereotypical London criminal for the period. Now again, he's further stereotyped by this flat cap, and one of the differences between him and Kemble is that Brooker is the sort of grafter. He's the person who goes out and organises everything, who gets his hands dirty, who is sort of known for the level of violence that he has, paying people off, whereas Kemble stays very much removed from that. So the dress codes highlight the difference in role between the characters as well as their personalities. Interestingly though, Merrick wears very bright suits. Now he's not as high up as Kemble, because Kemble's still organising things, he's still ordering him around, but it suggests a higher level of flamboyance compared to characters like Brooker. Now the suits that Merrick wears are clearly very expensive, and we can tell that through initially the colour of them, because they seem cleaner, they seem sharper, they seem crisper, so more new perhaps. But it could also suggest that he's trying too hard to match Kemble. Kemble doesn't need to wear bright, ostentatious colours to order and to command the people who work for him, whereas Merrick seems to be trying that little bit too hard. Now, contrasting all of these are people like Billy and Stupid. So these are two petty criminals. Now, they both seem more youthful through the fact they're wearing jeans. Billy in particular seems more youthful through the fact that he's wearing this leather jacket as well. The jacket, though, also gives him a level of status, suggesting that he's trying to be perhaps cool or to show off. And we know throughout the episode that his brother has a reputation that perhaps Billy is trying to live up to. Stupid, on the other hand, seems very clumsy. He's got an untucked shirt, he's got a sweater vest that doesn't really seem to fit him, and even for the period, the way he dresses doesn't seem quite as cool. And we can also see that, like Billy, his jeans are rolled up, so perhaps he's trying to emulate his friend, trying to be cool like his friend, but he seems to have rolled them like one step too far, which again adds to this portrayal of him being stupid or being a bit silly. Now, it's important to note that we also have women throughout the episode as well. So the main woman who we see is Jenny. Jenny seems quite average for the period. We don't see how she's dressed when she's viewed with Regan right at the beginning and see she's sort of still half asleep. But when we see her in the scene that we've got here, she's wearing a plain sort of jumper, plain trousers. And so she seems quite average, and this would help more female audiences to relate to the crime drama, which again was sort of very stereotypically male and focuses on men rather than women. Now, we know that she works as a stewardess, and this was something that I sort of could have put into props as well as dress codes. I decided to cover it here, because we can see that she works as this stewardess through her uniform that Brooker handles in this particular scene. Now, this gives her a higher level of status and sort of suggests a high class because she's got a well-respected profession. It also emphasises the fact that she is attractive, because stewardesses back in the 1970s and today have a reputation of being very attractive female, or predominantly female profession. We also have the female officer, who's viewed very briefly, and I thought I'd pick it out here just in case the clip that you guys get in your exam is the section that covers this female officer entering, because her dress codes give us quite a bit of information. So first of all, they show the typical dress codes of female officers during the period, and again shows a well-respected profession just like Jenny, and that is part of this sort of same scene here. But the clothing emphasises traditional feminine values through the fact that it's sort of a dress or skirt that's being worn here. And that makes it seem, particularly for a modern audience, really awkward for her job role. So we wouldn't, for example, imagine this female officer chasing down a criminal while wearing this dress or skirt. It just seems to sort of go against our expectations of that particular role as a modern audience. Obviously for the contemporary audience viewing this as a period, that would be the norm. Now, it's worth mentioning some disguises as well. So particularly we see disguises where Kemble's men dress as the paramedics for when they're driving the ambulance, and obviously we would expect some level of disguise for the crime drama genre. We've seen that in Luther, we've got it here as well, so that creates a sort of similarity between the two programmes, and it'd be worthwhile watching other crime dramas, even if it's just the odd episode of individual crime dramas, to see whether some of these conventions appear in those as well. That was a really quick video. I hope you guys found it useful. I will be coming back with other videos looking at things like sound, props, setting, all that sort of stuff. So keep watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it so that you get notifications every time I post a video, particularly if you guys are doing crime drama, because that would obviously be very useful for you. You also get a shout out every time you subscribe, so if you want to be featured in the next video, just subscribe down below. We've got some key terms here that you could use in your own revision, so if there are any there that you don't know, get the definitions and make sure you understand them. You can also pop me questions down in the comment section below or through Twitter at media_revision. And I'll see you guys later for another video.